Gretchen.
They call her Big Gretchen. But I mean, we're all clear that she's going to be a presidential candidate, if not a president, for sure. I mean, that's just a granted.
If we still have elections.
If we still have elections.
We're going to have elections. We're going to have elections.
If there are elections, you can be sure that she's going to be in them. It's just it can become more and more clear over her time as governor that she's headed for a national stage. All right, joining us now from the spin room is NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. Vaughn, tell us what you've been seeing. Tell us what it's like. We've been talking about how unique this debate set is, but a spin room is kind of always a spin room. Have you seen anything tonight that tips things for you in terms of what things are going to be like, or who's there to support the candidates, or anything else that can inform what we should be looking for tonight?
Hey, Rachel, everybody. Look, I think the question here for Donald Trump was which allies were going to show up tonight in his defense. Of course, those who are under consideration to be his running mate, his VP, now that Mike Pence, of course, is not seeking a second term alongside Donald Trump, is who was going to be here. And we have the answer, and that is J.D. Vance, the Ohio senator, Marco Rubio, the Florida senator. We've got Doug Burgum, the North Dakota governor. You also have the likes of Tim Scott, the senator out of South Carolina. Each of them will be here in the spin room following tonight's debate. Individuals who are not here, as far as we know at this time, include Melania Trump, the former First Lady. And the reason I bring her up here is the fact that we have yet to see Melania Trump on the campaign trail with Donald Trump. He announced back in November of 2022. The one time we did see her at a quasi-campaign stop, it was when the two of them went and voted at a Florida polling location back in March. And at that point, she was asked whether she would be seen on the campaign trail ahead. And she said, quote, "Stay tuned." She has not appeared on any of the trials, the civil or criminal ones in New York. She was not there for any of his post speeches after any of his 4 criminal indictments. And so far, again, not on the campaign trail. And the contrast there, if she does not come tonight, is the fact that Jill Biden, the current First Lady, is slated to walk out on stage at the close of tonight's debate alongside her husband, Joe Biden. And the question here is whether Melania Trump will do that alongside her husband, the presumptive Republican nominee.
Vaughn, can I ask you a super awkward question about that specifically? If Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, after the debate is over, walks out, grabs the president's hand, yay, I'm here, and Melania Trump still has not arrived on site, can somebody else play that role? I mean, there's no audience there. There's no, like, it's very tightly controlled. In the 2 commercial breaks there's going to happen, they're not allowed to speak to anybody who's there to support them. So all of this stuff is very tightly calibrated, according to what's been negotiated between the 2 campaigns and CNN in advance. Is it only a wife who gets to walk out on stage, or could he pick, like, his favorite minion to walk out there with him?
We are told that one other close family member would be able to walk out on stage with him, but we know that Don Jr. is not going to be here tonight because of a prior family event related to one of his children. Eric Trump, we have not seen so far here, but he could be here. And of course, Ivanka Trump could be an option, but Ivanka Trump, much like her mother-in-law, has not appeared on the campaign trail through this election cycle either.
NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard, thank you very much, Vaughn. I appreciate it. We'll be back to you soon. I know.
Thanks,
you guys all know behind the scenes that my big bet, my big shoot the moon bet on Trump's vice presidential pick is Ivanka.
Oh.
Is who I think he's going to pick.
Oh, I think he would want to. I think he would want to.
If she would do it.
I don't think it's any of those dudes. I think it's Ivanka, and I think it always has been. And so I don't. But I mean, what about? How do I thought it was going to be President Biden in 2012. So
I thought the dark horse here. I thought we were going to get to the often neglected Tiffany Trump. Maybe Tiffany's there.
A job. She's got a billionaire husband.
She's doing all right for herself. But I'm just saying, maybe she could be the one that goes out, the family member, because I feel like she often is not included in the same category.
Which is why.
So are you picking her to be nice, or are you picking her because you think she's a contender?
I don't know. What can I say? I'm a bleeding heart. I'm a squish. I just want to get some
underdog
inclusion and love.
I don't think we should. Who knows who? I mean, she might show up because if Trump cares about one thing, right, it's the casting and the shot.
Yeah.
And he knows
it's a weird
that,
shot without anyone.
Correct.
Yes.
And he knows that she is She's his best wife right now, right? She's the only one. I think she's the third wife. But I think Trump is acutely aware in his own reptilian survival way that it would be very helpful to have her there. And whatever, no one ever knows what goes on in marriage. I certainly have no idea what's going on. But I wouldn't rule out her being there by the end.
Getting there
It might be a prenup. I mean, we don't know what the agreement is.
I mean, be on the lookout for stunts. This is a very closely regulated debate
Which I think is
environment,
good, actually.
with the microphones off and no audience and the red lights that are going to signal to them and all the stuff that's been negotiated. Sure, but that doesn't mean, and they can't have props, they can't bring notes. We were talking about note cards. They cannot bring note cards. They cannot talk to anybody. It's very tightly regulated.
But do we think that's a good thing?
Well, whether or not it's a good thing, I don't think it means that we should preclude the possibility that somebody will try to pull a stunt. Donald Trump has not announced his vice presidential candidate.
Right.
His 4 leading contender men are there. His wife does not appear to be there, but we also don't know who's going to be on his arm when at the end, when Jill Biden walks out on
And it might be his biggest audience that he gets in quite a while. So if he's going to do something wild, this would be the night to do it.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's an interesting
But
thought.
we won't talk about this on TV. It'd be too weird. All right, we're now a little over an hour away from the start of the debate. The great Steve Kornacki is going to walk us through the state of the race, what the candidates could gain or lose tonight. We've got a lot still to come. Stay with us. Big night.
To me, Harlem is home. But home is also your body.
Last one, everyone.
I asked myself, why doesn't Pilates exist in Harlem? So I started my own studio. Getting a brick and mortar in New York is not easy. Chase Inc. has supported us from Studio 1 to Studio 3.
When you start small, you need some big help, and Chase Inc. was that for me.
Earn up to 5% cash back on business essentials with the Chase Inc. Business Cash Card from Chase for Business. Make more of what's yours.
At the Jeep Make This the Summer event, you can take a vacation from payments on the most capable Wrangler ever. Our most affordable SUV, Jeep Compass. The only open-air pickup, Jeep Gladiator. And the most awarded SUV ever, Jeep Grand Cherokee. Hurry into your Jeep brand dealer and make the most out of summer with great deals plus no payments for 90 days.
During the Jeep Make This the Summer event, get $2,000 bonus cash allowance, plus no monthly payments for 90 days on the 2024 Jeep Gladiator and most 2024 Jeep Wrangler gas-powered models.
If you have chronic kidney disease, you can reduce the risk of kidney failure with Farxiga, because there are places you'd like to be. Farxiga can cause serious side effects, including ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration, urinary tract or genital yeast infections, and low blood sugar. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop taking Farxiga and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, an allergic reaction, or ketoacidosis.
Here we go again. This election is heating up, but the Daily Show news team is barely breaking a sweat.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Comedy Central's The Daily Show on Comedy Central and next day on Paramount Plus.
Deep down, I knew something was wrong. Since my fatigue and lightheadedness would come and go, I figured it wasn't a big deal. Then I saw my doctor and found out I have AFib. And that means there's about a 5 times greater risk of stroke. Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if you have AFib, the risk of stroke is always there. If you have one or more symptoms, get checked out. Holding off on seeing a doctor won't change whether or not you have AFib. But if you do, making that appointment can help you get ahead of stroke risk. Contact a doctor and learn more at notimetowait.com.
The cockroach, resilient creatures. Where there is one, others aren't far behind.
Well, that's horrifying.
Ortho Home Defense Max Indoor Insect Barrier. One application kills and prevents bugs for 365 days. Nature's wild. Your home doesn't have to be.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, and I saved hundreds. With all the money I saved, thought I'd buy stilts. Hi, honey. Hey. Oh, look. No line at the hot dog stand.
Yes.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Pizza parties are better with crispy crust and gooey cheese. It's better outside with Ninja.
Cold lagered, cold filtered, cold packaged. Coors Light. Choose chill.
What you doing? What you doing? Where you at? Where you at? Oh, you got plans. You got plans. Don't say that. Shut your trap. I'm sipping. I'ma leave the door open.
so easy to get your windshield replaced using Safelite. Tell the people why you haven't done it. It started off as a chip and it just keeps going. So what do we do now? I've scheduled an appointment at Safelite.com.
Safelite Repair. Safelite Replace. Yes!
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that.
Last time was fun. Joining us now at the big board is the great Steve Kornacki. Steve, we know you've been looking at numbers, crunching that sort of data-driven approach to this in terms of thinking about what's at stake and who is persuadable. We're expecting tons of people to watch tonight. Let's talk about the scenarios for each of these guys.
Yeah, well, let's start off just where the race stands right now. This is the average of all the polls basically over the last month nationally. When you do that, you get Trump 44.5 and you get Biden 43.6. So that's a difference of 9/10, so basically a 1-point race in the averages right now. Close, I know, what a surprise. So what does coming into tonight, though, Biden as an incumbent president, he has this particular challenge. And what you're seeing here, these are all the incumbent presidents in the era of television debates here since 1980 at least. What was their approval rating coming into the first debate? You see Biden's average is just 40.7%, and the ominous company that puts him in is Jimmy Carter, 1980, George Bush Sr., 1992, even Donald Trump 4 years ago, who was actually a little bit higher in the approval rating. All of them lost re-election. You see who the candidates who won re-election were: Obama, Bush, Clinton, and Reagan. A fair distance between Biden and them. So one thing Biden obviously needs to do tonight in other settings is get that number higher if he can. Now, take a look at this in terms of expectations, however. This is interesting. New York Times Siena poll out just yesterday asked folks watching this debate, what do they expect? Will Biden do well or not well? A plurality said not well. Same question of Trump. A pretty big majority said he'll do well. So the expectations on this are that Trump's going to have a better night than Biden. Now, how does that play out? Does that set a lower bar for Biden that might, work to his advantage? That's an interesting dynamic here, the gap in expectations for these candidates. And, of course, I think one of the reasons for that gap can be found in the next number, also from that same New York Times Siena poll. They asked about the issue of age, and they asked a very specific question. It was this: is the age of a candidate such an issue that the candidate is not capable of handling the job of president? And when asked that way, it's basically a 3-to-1 difference. 45% said that applies to Joe Biden. Only 16% said that applies to Donald Trump. So again, that's the doubt I think that Biden's dealing with here. That's the reason the expectations are low for him. Flip it around. If you're Biden, that's also the opportunity, because if this is holding you back, what you're looking at right here, you got 90 minutes tonight to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump with no one else in between. You have the opportunity potentially to allay a lot of those doubts. So we'll see what happens there. But then when you say opportunity, it's also this question. Quinnipiac, this is a Quinnipiac poll, and they asked people watching the debate tonight, is there a chance because of it you'll change your mind? Now, what people say they'll do versus what they actually do are often different. But just to give you a sense, 16%, that's not a small number in the context of a close presidential race nationally. 16% said they may change their minds, and that's evenly distributed here. Biden supporters and Trump supporters, and especially, this is that wild card group that could end up swinging the election. The people right now who say they're voting for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a third of them said they might change their minds based on what happens tonight. So, for either candidate, too, a particular opportunity with that third-party vote that exists right now.
Steve, in terms of that last slide that we're looking at there, are those people who say they are going to be watching the debate?
Yes, this is, if you watch it, is there a chance it will change your mind is how it's asked right here. So
you got to think the number of people who are supporting Robert F. Kennedy who are still going to be watching the debate. A, they know enough about politics to be supporting Robert F. Kennedy. B, they're going to be watching the debate even though they know he's not in it. And C, then they say they are persuadable. It seems to me like you've got to be talking about 4 people there. It just can't be, can't be a large number.
The one thing that you find in a lot of these polls, too, is that people, when offered the third-party option, they don't necessarily have an allegiance to that candidate.
Yeah.
It's more a way of expressing, I don't want the 2 major party candidates. So to the extent that's a thing here, that may be a different group of voters than people who agree with Kennedy on a lot.
Steve, thank you very much for that. Ari Melber, a dear friend, joins us. Ari, I have to say, if we were behind the John Rawlsian veil of ignorance and we did not know which candidate was which, I would rather be the candidate whom most people were expecting to do poorly than be the candidate whom most people are expecting to do well.
I love a John Rawls reference, very big in law school. I think you're absolutely right. And what's so interesting is, while that sounds believable that many people expect Trump to do well, those same people lived through 2020, watched him debate, and kicked him out of office. So at a minimum, those debates didn't help Trump. I think they hurt him. And the thing about Joe Biden that's interesting is, look, to the extent you can be objective about any of this, you're referring to people's reactions. So people have different debating preferences. But best we can tell from reactions, Joe Biden has had better debate experiences than Donald Trump. He has more experience than any living candidate in debates on the national stage, because he's been on the VP ticket, because he's run for president 3 times, having secured the nomination once and is doing it again. So he's debated more than anyone, and he's pretty good at it. And the jitters, the bad debates you have to get through, he kind of got through them a long time ago. So it's interesting that Biden begins tonight both a little bit underestimated on the debate stage, but having proven himself where after debates, people vote for him.
Yeah, and I think he does benefit from Joe Biden. And this is very consistent. It happened before the State of the Union. People almost have no expectations. They never have high expectations of Joe Biden. They used to say about Reagan, they misunderestimated him. Or no, it was George W. Bush. Sorry, that was George W. Bush. But I think the same thing is true. It was George W. Bush. But I think the same thing is true of Joe Biden. He's been such a constant figure in our politics for so long that people almost sort of have an amnesia about him, too. And that people forget, wait a minute, this guy's been doing this since he was 29 years old. He's run for president multiple times. He's been on the debate stage with multiple people. You know, he's debated 8 other Democratic nominees and got the nomination. Younger ones, people of color, all of these varieties of people. Pete Buttigieg, great communicator. He beat them all and got the nomination. So he has some quality and skill that people just are always surprised when he actually
in the Democratic Party, he was almost like furniture.
Yeah.
It was like 40 years it's there. You don't see furniture when it's there every day, but sometimes you go
you
back.
You don't have the right furniture, Don.
Maybe I'm giving away more than I mean to. But sometimes you don't see it, and then when you sit in a good, comfy chair, you remember, oh, wait, actually, this is familiar in a good way.
Yeah. But the thing I wanted to add to your point about the State of the Union is he didn't just exceed expectations for the text of the speech, where he started by quoting Reagan with foreign policy, kind of a place no one thought he would go, and sort of grabbing the Reagan mantle, because there's no competition for that, really, in today's Republican Party. But his best moment was an ad lib. It was when they started jeering about a crime committed by someone in the country illegally. And Biden said, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he pointed to the Republican Senator Langford, I think, who mouthed, it's true, and corroborated Joe Biden saying, I tried to fix immigration. I went along with all the Republican ideas. Trump killed it. So the State of the Union exceeded expectations, but its high point was an ad lib where he tried to grab the upper ground on immigration.
Which was substantively important, but also stylistically important in terms of, is he on his toes? Is he in command of the situation?
I do think that the upside that Steve pointed out is crucial, but I also think that polling is part of the issue for Biden right now. And the reason this race is where it is that there's an expectation of the president being a larger-than-life figure. It's the bully pulpit, right? Like, particularly in the media age. And in 2020, I think there was a little bit of exhaustion with how much larger than life Donald Trump was, and also the job that he was doing. Joe Biden is not sort of an omnipresent person. Yeah. In the sort of public imagination. Donald Trump still kind of is, at least the thought of him. And the idea that number is so skewed, 60% think he's going to do well, it's like, dude, have you watched him talk recently? Yeah. And again, it's the branding, the sort of salesman shtick. The reason it's effective is because you just repeat this sort of like boast enough times, it sort of like lodges somewhere in the back of people's minds. I thought that was a very interesting polling result that speaks to me about where we are in this race.
But it's a reminder that it is, as one of the former hardball executive producers used to say, it's television. And the thing about it's television.
That's good.
And the reality is, since John F. Kennedy, this business has, the business of politics has really gone to the person who has some performative skill. Yeah. There's a reason that President Obama is sort of a larger-than-life figure, not just being the first black president, but he had like a command of television.
And Bill Clinton as well.
And Bill Clinton as well. Yeah. And Ronald Reagan, who was a performer, a natural performer. What Donald Trump has in the television, the advantage he has on television, and he's literally a television actor. He was on a hit TV show for a long time. So people, number one, have a comfort with him that sort of belies how cuckoo he is, because they're comfortable with him from The Apprentice. So